All right, Sunday morning, Culinary Cowboy making some good homemade meatballs. Man, it takes some time, but I tell you, it's worth it every single time if you do it right. So here's what I did. I seasoned the beef the night before, just a personal preference that, the beef with all the good seasonings just tastes better if you let it sit in the fridge for 6 hours. But 4.5 pounds of good 85% ground beef. I like the mix of stuff like ground chuck mixed with some other stuff. My local butcher mixes some parts, so it's super flavorful. A little bit of it's fatty. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's why it tastes so good. So you can use the 93%, the organic, the grass-fed stuff. It's gonna be fine. It just doesn't taste as good or it gets as tender because it lacks the fat. First off, if you're cooking meatballs, frankly, if you're cooking anything, get your favorite liquor. A little red wine, since I'm cooking with it, making meatballs is good. It's Sunday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, but who cares? I'm cooking, for God's sake. So in the mix of meatballs, we have, again, this is 4.5 pounds, so I have, I don't know, maybe a cup of fresh chopped parsley, fresh chopped oregano from the garden, or you can use dry. There is ground fennel, there's red chili pepper flakes, there is ground pepper, there's thyme, fresh. You can use fresh or dried thyme. You can even put some anise seed. You can even put some ground clove in there. Go very light on the cloves though, because they're super powerful. Mix that ever so gently. Do not over handle the meat. Awkward pause. Once you have that, drop in 2 eggs, and to make them gluten-free, we make what we call porcupine meatballs. So normally you would, if you're gonna make traditional meatballs, mix with a little whole milk, with a little ricotta cheese, and some Dale bread or something to as the binder. We prefer to use rice, and I mocked my wife, the vegetarian or quasi-vegetarian at first, but I have to say they taste better. I think the rice gives it a good texture. So drop in your 2 eggs and mix in, let's call it a handful of rice. I like the rice to be pre-made, so it's a little, it's colder and firmer rather than, just making it being warmer and more, kind of falls apart. So put in your rice, and you just got to mix it a little bit. You want to make sure that it's mixed together and there's a good bind, but you don't want to have too much rice because then it takes away the flavor of the beef. And then put in a healthy amount of grated parm. That is a personal preference. If you do not want to do all of the fresh herbs, you can always get a good Italian seasoning. Penzi's has a great one called Tuscan Sunset. And what's it got in here? It's got basil, oregano, red bell pepper, garlic, thyme, fennel, black pepper, and anise. That one's pretty good. I put a little bit of olive oil in the mix, just a little, and mix it all together, and you get meatballs. I just took these out of the oven. So preheat the oven at 400. Put in your meatballs. Oh, by the way, stop right there. Before you put them into meatballs and put them in the oven, taste one. Make a little meatball, flatten it out, put it on the grill, and make sure that the seasonings are correct. The biggest thing that people under season with is salt. So make sure you have a healthy dose of, I use kosher salt throughout. And season it on the top and then mix it up, season it on the bottom, mix it up a little more, and then you usually have to do it one more time. But make sure you season it correctly by trying it and then adding what you need. And then when it's ready, then you can make the actual meatballs. 400 in an oven for 15 to 20 minutes till they get nice and brown. Then pull them out and put them in the pool. What's in the pool? Well, we already have the first batch of meatballs in there, but Rao's or Rao's, I don't know how you say it, the best pasta sauce ever, but I like to season it with other stuff. So there is probably 5 or 6 garlic cloves. I don't like big chunks of garlic, so smash them with the back of the knife, chop them, add a little olive oil, put a little salt on top as a grinder, and then using the back of the knife, grind it into a paste. Then put it in there. You get the flavor, you just don't get the chunks. There's a chopped grilled balsamic onion in there for flavor. There is a chopped green pepper, chopped yellow pepper. There's about a quarter of a cup-ish of balsamic vinegar. There's about 5 cans of Rayos, 1 can of arrabbiata Rayos, which is the hot to mix with the regular, and then a bottle of your favorite red wine. If you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. Is my philosophy. So heat all that stuff up. And by the way, if you really want flavor, drop in a little pork shoulder in the bottom of this, or a couple of bone-in short ribs at the bottom. I like to season those things and then brown them on the outside and then put them at the bottom of the sauce. But regardless, that extra fat, slow cooked, is going to make the sauce just absolutely delicious. So put them in this. So once you brown them at 400 for 20 minutes or so, then turn the oven down to 300 and then put the sauce in there for an hour. Let's call it hour and a half at 300, and then you're done, man. Pull it out. If you want to eat it then, great. I like to make them one day and then eat them the next because they just taste better over the next week. Plus, when you take them out of the fridge the next day, all that fat congeals at the top, and then you can just scoop it out. The fat was designed to flavor everything. Now take it out of the sauce, and then you can heat it up. If you use 85% beef, you can put it in the oven for 2 hours at 275, and when you're ready for dinner, the meatballs are going to be super, super tender. And then chop up some fresh basil and put on some grated parm over angel hair, and you are golden. So again, oregano, parsley, ground fennel, chopped basil, salt, pepper, 2 eggs, seasoned rice, grated Parmesan cheese, a little bit of red chili pepper flakes. Mix it all up, put it in the oven at 400 for 20 minutes, take it out, drop the oven down to 300, put them in the sauce. The sauce has, it starts with your base of Rayos. You can put a can of diced tomatoes in there if you want, some olive oil, some garlic, some more oregano, balsamic vinegar, red wine, more basil. Put in your meatballs, put them in the oven for an hour and a half. At 300, take them out, enjoy. Drink some wine, lots of wine, and good crusty bread.